Beautiful hearts. We are in this quantum conversation to bring forward the love of our hearts and the light from within. And my guest today is someone who works with embodied soul. And she's going to talk a little bit about the fascia fabric and what that entails. This is going to be a fascinating conversation as we meet Carly Vernon. Hi, Carly. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Loren. Thank you for having me back. I love our conversations.
This is really fascinating because the work that you do is coming in very strong now. We're going to see some images and all of it, but you were really a conduit of clarity, and you're here to bring forward the divine will of God and the Divine Mother. And we're going to be talking about that and having a process to experience what we're talking about. But as we're talking about this idea of embodying the soul, where does the fabric of our fascial muscles interchange or interface with embodiment?
That is a great question, Loren. Uh, as I have come to understand it, and it has been given to me over and over, and we'll reference it in some images, is through the umbilical cord. Um, it is the installation cord where it nourished us and took the waste away. And it is the connection to the Divine Mother. And yeah, we can definitely get into that as we move forward. It is the root,
That's
it's,
it's so interesting because if you poke around in your belly button,
mm,
you can start to feel some things.
yep.
What do you feel when you poke around in your belly button? Hey, that's almost. I mean, it's interesting. It brings up images, it brings up thoughts, it brings up feelings. For me, it
Yes.
does anyway. What do you experience?
Well, you've dipped your finger into the installation cord, right? So you're able to read the entire body through those tissues. Those are fiber optic filaments, as I see them, like tubes of light that carry the light. And so it depends on what I'm working on, what I feel through my own cord. For example, I had surgery as a child, as a very small child. I had two hernia surgeries. So that sliced part of that ligament that travels from the umbilicus down to the pubic bone, down to the inguinal ligament. So the cord is like an umbrella. Uh, if you think about a geodesic dome and um, the structure or a tent, the bendable structure, that's the ligament. That's how I see the umbilical ligament as it traverses through the body. It just changes its name. So, to answer your question, if I go south, depends where I go. If I go deep, if I go left, I go right, I go south, and veer off. You can travel the whole body. So if I go south, I can feel the detachment of some of those cords, a little bit of it, which caused significant structural challenges for me growing up that I didn't realize until I learned this stuff. So, and that how that relates to the connection to my own mother and then to the Divine Mother. And again, we can get into that path and how that goes. But I don't want to dive in too deep too fast because it can be a little much.
All right, so let's back up and talk about what's really going on. Explain what fascia is, because this
Okay.
is really what you're talking about. And then how does that fascia get imprinted by our experiences? That's what's happening, right? Every
Yeah.
experience that we have is giving us an imprint. And what you're saying is it's imprinting on our physical body. It's not just in our cells, but now it's starting to take shape and form. Wow, that's fascinating. And it could be kind of weird and freaky for some. We're
Totally.
going to see some images as well. So,
Yeah.
how does, what is so important about understanding this concept?
That's a really good question, and it's good, and my brain is firing lots of different avenues on this one. Um, so first, the first thought is thoughts. Our thoughts. When I see it imprinting, it's not a stamping imprint. It's a negative, right? It's like a negative. It's a shadow. So it's not really there. We just think it's there because it's an event that's being stored in the tissue. Like a the viewfinder toy that we had, like when you click around. So those little imprints are on our tissue if we're not moving, right? So there's the glide that fascia likes. Fascia is a connective tissue that weaves together all in, around, and through our body. It carries our electrical impulses, it carries cerebral spinal fluid, it holds our structure together. It is part of the umbilical ligament, um, the network of it. I sort of see it as fascia is, and this might sound strange, but fascia is the hole in the net of the matrix.
Fascia is the hole in the net of the matrix. It's our physical form. It's like so it's not the bones or anything, but it's the interface.
With, yes, our sensory system
It's the
with
okay.
Christ consciousness. Yeah, that's a
Ah.
really good, yes. So, yeah. So, um,
So
the
what do we
other,
need to do here? What do we need to do? What?
okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Actively. So, right, because now we're boots on the ground. We've all
Yeah.
been studying and waiting and learning and sharpening our tools. And now, okay, what do we got to do? All right, here's my message. Um, my message is that we have to think about how we imprint, how we are imprinting, and to erase the older prints, which we can talk about that later in regard to DNA and ancestral debt and contracts and what have you. But boots on the ground work is that if you think about your fingerprints and your toe prints, and you look at them, everybody's is unique, and they have, if you can imagine the ridge on it, see that print as it's a mountain, it's a peak, right? Like a mountain peak. And that ridge has like these spindles in it, kind of like fins that allow it to bend and move around. So when we touch things, kind of moves like a brush, right? These fingerprints. The very end tip of that print is light. It's that fiber optic cable that's connecting with the grid or creating the grid, depending upon which side you're looking at. And so if you look at our fingers and our toes, the prints are kind of messed up. And one way you can see that is one of those images that we'll look at a little bit later. I think it's close to the end on those images we were talking about. And so if you look at somebody with, say, a bunion or a high arch or, any kind of foot jam going on, their print is jammed. And so we have to get in, we have to feel from the inside our body. We need to start to feel our sensory system feeling the body. And that's done, I have experienced, through the umbilical ligament into those fingerprints, which are an extension of that umbilical cord. So Divine Mother is right at the end of your fingertips and toe tips, all the way through your body. So think of them as tubes, these fiber optic tubes. And when we have insults and injury and adaptations to all of those, and adaptation on top of adaptation, which causes more injury, more insult, you see these tubes, these fabric fascial tubes, they get crushed and twisted in all sorts of crazy genetically modified ways. So our task is to get into that um, core, that line, that cord with divine, raise our frequency on those fibers and begin to travel the fibers inside of our body and feel ourselves from the inside out. And then that way we create what is out there. We create the out from inside, from within.
That's really quantum. That's really quantum. We're doing it. We are the light. And so basically what you're saying is we are the light. We've just become distorted. Become distorted. And so when you have done this, and you've got some drawings to share, because when you've done this and you've enhanced your inner sight, you're able to see things that are quite revealing. So maybe these images are a good place to start to show some examples of what you're referring to. Should we show those now?
Yeah, and I guess something interesting to think about when you're looking at these images is a lot of them are my sensory system sensing what it's feeling on the outside on with clients. I mean, with myself, but also it's a reflection of the condition of my own fingerprints and toe prints and what they could pick up. So that, there's a distortion in my feet, and I feel it in ways that make me go wackadoodle. So I work day in and day out to remove that distortion. And the more I do it, the more I realize it's not just the fascia. Like it's the junk in the fascia. And then, okay, now that's not me. That's an ancestral thing. That's genetic. So I have to do an ancestral genetic thing. So there's so yes, when you're looking at the images, it's a plethora of information that's coming in from all different perspectives.
Okay, it's really amazing. And so it's fascinating that you've been able to see it in this way, right? To see the ancestral imprints, like you're able to see. So we all want to dive into this, and you're going to do a process to help us see. But let's go to some images. So I'm going to share this first image. We're going to start with this one.
Yeah.
What is this?
Well, just to be clear, almost all of my images are designed to be rotated. So when you can't do it on this site here. When the image is rotated, many things that appear as one thing in one image can appear as something very entirely different, upside down or rotated clockwise,
Okay.
right?
Yes, I mean, we can start to turn our head and start to see the difference. Okay, so they're from any angle. So is this is a view from the inside? And what
Imagine,
is, yeah.
imagine that this is your navel, and right at the center of that cross, you could dip your finger in there and do some twisting and turning. And these are the things that you could turn. So if you look at the, say, 12 and 6 o'clock stuff, those are leg bones, right? It's the
Mhm.
tibia and fibula. There's
Yes.
other stuff there, right? If you go lower, you can see that's a foot and maybe some lips, right?
Ah, yes.
And then if you go over to the right, there's this purpley flowery thing, and that could be, deeper toward the core. That could be like the iris of the eye. And then there's the ear where you are, and there's a finger, right? So, and then over on the left, you've got a nose all the way to 9 o'clock. You've got a nose, and then if you turn it, it's upside down. You can see
Uh-huh.
that that's somebody's eye, and so the somebody's lacrimal gland, their ability for their eye to water or not water is affected. If you look at it's like 6:30 time area. That's an eye. You have to turn your head depending on which way you're looking at it. So, I mean, we could break this down into a whole bunch of stuff, but to give you an idea, that's just dipping your finger into a navel. So that I call this the mother ring. And so anytime we want to talk to the Divine Mother, we just have to touch our belly button, ring our belly button, ring the button,
Ring the belly button.
ring the belly button. And so when I started doing this, I was brought to so when you look at when you follow the ligament, the umbilical cord from baby into the human form, that southern traveling ligament that I was telling you about, well, that part of it invests in the cervix. So if you really think about it, every umbilical cord is connected through every cervix to every umbilical cord, all the way back from mother to mother to mother to mother, back to the divine mother. So if you can sort of pull yourself through that tube and go on this journey, this astral journey, and you can find yourself in the womb of fruitful darkness, the mother womb, the divine mother, where everything is available there. But when I got there, it became ceremonial, and it was like I was lifted up through this ring. But the ring was more like a column, and it was all the mothers. It was every mother you could ever imagine. Every mother, including bears and wild animals, but Mary, Tara, like all the mothers, every mother that has ever existed is in that ring.
Wow.
So every time I go up in there, it's like kind of going like lifting up into a hologram. And now I've got all the mothers, and I ask them to assist, and whatever is needed comes back.
Fascinating. All right. I love how you said it's like a hologram. You're able to see the full hologram.
Well, it's not full yet. I'm still working on
Okay,
it.
it's not full.
I'm working on it.
Wow. From the
I'm
inside out, let's just say
from the
from
inside
the
out.
inside
Yes.
out.
Yeah, I'm constantly clearing. I have techniques that I use to make sure I keep cleaning my thoughts, keep cleaning my words, because I'm human. I'm definitely not perfect. So, constantly clearing, 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 and all of that is done through forgiveness. All of that, all of that. And some of that you can, well, were you going to ask something?
There's just so many questions that come up, like how would you know? Okay, so basically, this is where our thoughts and what we're thinking and what we're feeling, this is why this is so important. We know from a quantum level that that is how we create, but what you're doing with these images is that you're showing that what you picked up from yourself and your own inner vision is the distortions that can be created or the imprints that are contained in the physical body from negative thoughts, experiences, ancestral lines, all of it.
Trauma, all of that. So if you, Loren, do you remember the femur? If you want to
Yes.
go to any of the images that are mostly the ones that are mostly in the black and white, or you could do the self-portrait or the foot, maybe the foot. Choose any of the um, black and white ones. Like that's the fascial fairy tale, that one right there. So these are the things that this was the last image I drew before I started, color started coming into my images. All the other ones have been black and white. So this is the fascial fairy tale. And this is the stuff I feel in people's bodies. It's imprinted in their tissue.
Okay, so as you're a massage therapist,
Yeah.
and this is when you started learning this is because you found that the issues are in the tissue. And so now you're drawing this
Yeah.
and
Yes.
you are seeing the stories held in the fascial tissue.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
Is this you or it's a client?
No, this is just the fascial fairy tale. A lot of time, mostly, I don't think about what I'm drawing. If I try to think about what I'm drawing, I can't finish it. So,
Right, okay.
I just sit down and I let my hands, my body tell the story. And
Wow.
and it just happens. I'm like, oh, look, I'm drawing a leg, and then I'll turn and I'll be like, oh no, wait, that's a nose. Just it's just coming through. These are the
Wow.
stories. It's why I ask people to just observe and see what happens. There might be something you can let go of. This might be some story in there that you can just let it go from your belly button. Give it back to the mother ring. Let it slide on that cord and out your body.
Okay. All right, fascinating. Let's go to another one. This is the foot.
Yes, this is the foot. And
Ah, you were talking about this. This is the hip. This is
this is the,
now this is fascinating because anyone who does yoga knows that we get really tense in the hips, and the hips carry everything. The hips and the shoulders are related,
yes.
right? And
Yep.
so when we feel a burden in our shoulders, this is showing up here. And so what are we seeing?
Well, this started out as a femur. I was, that's just a femur bone. If you look real close, anybody who knows anatomy will eventually be able to see up on the like at the two and 3 o'clock mark. That's the ball of the femur, and out to the far left is the trochanter, and then traveling downward where my name is, that's the lesser trochanter where the psoas inserts or attaches. So just go up a little north from there and you'll see a very twisted foot standing on its toes. And, just underneath that, if you turn your head, there's what looks like a breast and a navel underneath the toes. There's another breast. Yeah, breasts are everywhere. And there's a jawline with teeth. I mean, yeah, everything is in there. And if you turn that, you'll see that that jawline becomes a foot, a toe with a chain on it. And that chain travels
Uh,
up into the head of the femur, which really represents the back of the skull, and then go to the opposite side and you see the mouth
ah.
attached to that same chain in some degree.
So what are we seeing? I mean, what is this saying that this is?
This is all the junk that's that when you see somebody walking, this is the junk that we're carrying. And not
Mm,
all of it is ours. A lot of it is ancestral. It's on our DNA, but it's not on our DNA in a way that um, it lives there. It's a shadow on the DNA. And it's the light that we emanate that reveals itself to the shadow. So the shadow disperses as opposed to revealing the shadow and having to talk about the trauma and have to, deal with all of that and go through all of those things. The light disperses the shadow. Once you connect like this, forgiveness just drops the veil and none of that stuff can hold on to the tissue. It just
mm.
dissipates. But if we don't learn how to forgive ourselves and others and ancestrally, it stays on that genetic imprint. And that's how we see our own body from the inside out.
Wow. All right. This is then when you hear the phrase, I've become my mother or I've become my father, then we literally are becoming
Yep.
the imprints from the fibers. This is the fibers. This is the trauma and the ancestral junk
Yeah.
in the fibers. And you
Well, it's
call it fiber optics. So
yeah.
it's the light fibers.
Well, think about that. Fiber optics, it's how we're seeing the light,
Mm.
right? So it's our thought patterns. This is our neurological system that's projecting these images onto the tissue.
Oh. All right. This is really making it clear the importance of doing the inner work, the clearing, the clearing, the clearing.
The obligation to,
So
yes. Yeah.
the obligation to the clearing.
Hmm.
So then, all right. Is there any other photo? And I know we're going to do a process. You're going to lead us through a process to
Yeah.
really feel what is this? Oh, this looks like,
This is
I
a
see something.
self-portrait. This is a
Oh, this is the
self-portrait.
self-portrait.
Yep. Yep. I didn't know it was a self-portrait. I just started drawing it and I thought it was crazy and wackadoodle. And then one day I just said it out loud. It's a self-portrait. And I looked, I'm like, huh, yeah, that is me. So my tissue, this is some of what my tissue held. Doesn't hold it anymore.
Ah, it doesn't
Some of
hold it
it.
anymore.
No, it's not there anymore.
Wow.
That's all clear. Except that tiny little nugget down there in the heart.
Okay, is this the heart?
Yeah,
Okay, describe this. This is wow.
folded over and in on itself. It's twisted. The heart
Uh-huh.
folded over and twisted. So um I would have problems breathing. I couldn't breathe. I would have issues with I couldn't breathe. And uh
Interesting.
it would lead to mental anguish, but it began as physical obstruction at where the root of the lung and the heart live, right at that um, part of the thoracic spine, but also the tissue. I had a significant amount of trauma. So, in addition to
Ah,
the mental and emotional stuff, there was like physical uh, insult, both accident and intentional insult. So it's just a collection of fascia from my diaphragm up, what it felt like.
wow. It'd be interesting to see a picture of a drawing of you from the inside out now after the work.
Yeah, well, I'll have to see if that spontaneously combusts because, like I said, I did not sit down to intention. If I try to do a drawing intentionally, it doesn't seem to happen.
Wow, what is compelling you to draw? This is your probably the Divine Mother.
It's actually a bunch of different individuals.
Okay.
Yeah, different groups and individuals at various times. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Any others to look at here? Or are we?
Uh, well, if you go to well, I don't know. Yeah, that eye one right there, people tend to really like. Nope, to keep going. One more. Yeah, people tend to really like that one. How we see the world. And that actually is a good segue to discuss some of what we're going to work on today. Because if you think about your eye as um, like a bobblehead, the eyeball, the actual
Mhm.
sphere of the eye, like a bobblehead. So it's on a spring, right? And now we've got two eyes, so two bobbleheads that have a body. And if you think about the bobblehead is in a car that suddenly gets hit and rolls over, then that bobblehead, those eyes are going to be doing some crazy bobblehead stuff. The springs are going
Mhm.
to be twisting and turning and quite possibly get stuck in places. So our the position of our eyeballs um, can get distorted if any of our skeletal system or musculoskeletal system gets out of whack and stays out of whack. So that you could imagine that that would sort of turn the eyeball, the sphere.
Mm.
So now our vision of the world is distorted through a
Mhm.
fascial entanglement.
Wow.
And then that's going to cause disruption in the cranial bones of the skull, which are then going to uh, um, affect a change in the other cranial nerves, which is like a wiring system coming out of the brain there. So now the sensory system has been jostled just through the visual, but also all of the musculature, the motor for the eyeball are also conducted by cranial nerves, which is part of our sensory system.
This truly illustrates that everything is connected, not
Yes.
only within us, but without us. It's amazing.
Yep.
And so, what we're doing is reconnecting to the unified field. Can you talk a little bit about this work and reconnecting to the unified field?
The way I see it is that our prints, so whether, um, let's see, that umbilical ligament, that navel, when you go north, it courses through the liver and invests in the diaphragm. It goes everywhere else too. It goes up through into your skull, into the brain. But for the purpose of this conversation, it comes up and it invests in the diaphragm, in the central tendon of the diaphragm, and becomes like that. If you think about your diaphragm um, having this clear center, like an eye has a cornea, and um, and sitting right on top of your diaphragm is your heart. And this diaphragm is that ligament, that part of the ligament that's almost like the center of a raindrop, you know, that when the heart beats, that travels out, that reverberation travels out. The way we breathe, boom, boom, that's going out into our into our prints, our toe prints. But also, uh, the way we speak is our print on the atmosphere. So the language we choose, that's reverberating on that as well. So that reverberation is traveling all through those filaments, uh, fiber optic filaments, and is expressing that. And when we go walk in the woods, what we can do is we can then feel that connection with the trees and the moss and like every animal, everything in the wild kingdom. We get to plug into different grids because they're all, everybody here is a child of the mother, divine mother, Mother Nature, wild kingdom. So we can, depending on which grid you want to hop on, you can talk to some trees and you can really feel it and feel it from inside out, not from your hands touching the tree. You feel it, you feel the grid in your body and how you're moving through it and with everything else.
Wow. We want to feel the grid in our body. All
Yeah.
right, let's do a process so we can really feel what's going on. This is really exciting, and there may be some people who have questions, but I know once we get through the experiential, we'll have a better inner standing of what is going on.
Yes.
All right, and so this is what I'm going to share. All right.
So that, I know it's kind of a gross looking image. I'm not like proud of it because I think it's beautiful, but it tells the story of the path. The name of this is called glossocrus, and glossa is Greek for tongue, and crus is vine or legs, and the diaphragm has legs, and they're called crus. But the position and the health of the diaphragm determines the health of the pelvis, which determines the health of the other legs. So when we can get a sense of the feeling from the inside out of this pathway, um, we start to engage with that cord, because that cord is in the center of that, all of that tangle there. So with that, um, one of the the breath work that I find really helps with what we're about to do, with helping with movement, is it's generally called Ujjayi breathing in yoga. But I do it a little bit differently. I think this is a way to do it, but you can go either way. So the way Ujjayi breath works is you're breathing through your throat. So what you want to do is we're opening the tube, which, by the way, the inside of the tube of the esophagus is called a lumen.
Hmm.
So as
Interesting.
yeah, yes. So just quickly to talk about the tongue here is when the baby's umbilicus is cut, and I have no proof of this, just so you know, I've just sort of this is what I've been shown to be true, and I don't have any idea if anybody in the medical field has proven or disproven this, but this is what I know to be true for me. When that umbilical cord is cut, the baby has to learn how to breathe. And of course they cry first, but they
After a
need
smack.
right. Do they cry without the smack? They still smack them?
Do they still smack them?
I don't, I hope not.
I know that's such a jarring,
That's cruel.
inhumane.
Like, hey, welcome.
Let us,
Yeah.
our audience knows about that. Let us know. Are they
Yeah.
still smacking newborns?
I know
Okay.
there are some people that don't cut the umbilical cord, right? They allow
Right. They let it
well,
naturally, and that's very holistic, isn't it?
well, it's the installation cord, right? So
Yes.
to cut it before the baby is ready is like
Ah,
unplugging the oven in the middle of a casserole dish.
yes.
I mean, that's a terrible way to say it, but
Hmm.
so you can potentially interfere with some installation that's going on if you cut the cord too early. Again, my opinion, I am not a medical professional. So back to the baby after they've hopefully not been smacked, but now they need to learn how to breathe um, in a more functional fashion. So they're they latch on. And when the tongue latches on to the mother's breast, it it forms the palate. And so there's the thrust of the tongue that goes onto the palate, and that opens up the sinuses. And those sinuses open up the throat there. So baby can breathe while drinking. And so that's the intention of this Ujjayi breathing is to bring that back because the formation of the palate is going to affect, remember I was talking about the eyes affecting the cranial plates? So these, so sorry, so these are the cranial plates that are being moved by the breathing, by the nursing to help with the breathing, learning of the breathing. So baby latches on, starts to breathe. Now the diaphragm gets kicked on and it starts to learn how to breathe and swallow and breathe and swallow and breathe and swallow. Now, let's say maybe you're of our generation and likely you were fed via a round nipple. So that's going to affect the original, not the original, but the original in this body's imprint of how to breathe, which is to say your tongue is not flattening your palate. So your sinuses are not getting squished down on top. Back of your throat is not getting fully expanded. So then you grow up and you become a mouth breather. I'm laughing, but it's true, right? Because then add insult to injury and adaptation to adaptation, and then you've got a mouth breather. So then you can't breathe, and you don't know why you can't, because mechanically that's not set. That wasn't set before you knew how to breathe. So the Ujjayi breathing is to bring that tongue to the roof of the mouth and start to experiment and really feel what the roof of the palate, that palate feels like as it presses down on the tongue as if the breast were in there. So sometimes I'll suggest to clients to I use wool, which they don't really like because it's wool. So to find something to press your tongue up against, a wad of gum, preferably xylitol, is good. Just to get that feeling, and you can feel that that's pushing open the sinuses. So then the lips get closed. And for the first breath in, you just bring it into the sinuses. And then when you breathe out, you start to practice, excuse me, breathing out through that tube. And with the tongue latched, you begin to feel that whole line in that image. You start to feel that tube participate in the breathing. And you keep opening that tube. So the in-breath doesn't necessarily matter too much in this instance if you're doing it through the throat or through the sinuses. It's the out-breath that you really can feel that tube at first. Over time, you can really learn to open for the inhale and for the outhale, exhale. That is the movement to do with breathing, with transitions, moving from one thing to the next, or holding a pose and getting those visions that show up on those debt codes or whatever is going to show up, and you're breathing through with this breath, you're moving everything. You're using your respiratory system to pass that shadow through, to clean off that debt, to clean off that debris, clean out the lungs. So now you can start to move lower and lower. So start to feel yourself from the inside out. So get inside that tube and see if you can roll the tube around with or without breathing. Because now you know how to get that tube. Now that you're practicing the Ujjayi, you're in there. But now you realize you start to find you can actually roll that tube around. That's your pharynx, your larynx, your esophagus. And in that tube is your blood supply. So if you start moving that tube around in there, you're massaging the aorta, you're massaging the vein. Anatomy is escaping me at the moment, but you're massaging the tubes, the blood tubes, the esophageal tube, the pharynx. You're starting to really roll that tube around. You're in part of the cord now. You're connecting to Divine Mother. Bring that lower and lower. Keep bringing that lower, and you start to maybe feel the root of the lung, like tree roots that come off to the side. Feels kind of hard and rubbery and dense. And allow yourself to lift on the inhale. When you inhale, feel that tube hoist the front of your sternum and feel the rib cage lift up and feel how you're lifting your rib cage without having your shoulders do it. And then as you exhale, come down through that tube controlled. And then over time, if you want, sit on your hands so your shoulders can get a break as you let them drag down. You hold your shoulders down and feel your rib cage move up and into the shoulders, massaging the inside of your shoulder blades. Let the rib cage massage the shoulder blades. And that's your diaphragm starting to lift the whole cage. So as you go lower from the root of the lung, and the heart is there too, you're now sitting on that diaphragm, on that lens. Feel it expand like a ball on the inhale, and then feel it push up and in on the exhale, and your ribs collapse around it. And keep practicing with that breath until you can pull that cord all the way to your navel. You can put your finger on your belly button if that helps, or your hand, the palm on your belly button, and really start to feel for that draw from the root of your tongue, as if it's up through the center of the tongue, pushing on that palate, and feel that luminescent tube all the way, the cord, which can get longer and longer and longer. It's unending. And when I'm doing this, my stomach is bubbling, it's pulling on my stomach. So you might start to feel things start to move around. And think about the glistening, glycerin-y like texture that's inside the lungs, that's in the throat, that it's a baby nursing, all of that glistening, glycerin, gliding feeling that feels delicious. And start to feel yourself from the inside out. What can you feel? Go on a quest. Just follow the lines and see where they take you. Use that deep throat breathing to open the tube on that exhale, because the exhale is not only the exhaust, it's also how you create your atmospheric conditions. You only speak on your exhale. So you need your exhale tube to be really, really clean. So when you speak, your voice is clear and your words are clear. And this is how you can ride your breath during any kind of movement, whether you're in a yoga practice, whether you're swimming, or just walking in the woods. If you use this breathing technique to move, you can bring yourself into the present moment and not get swayed from the visuals. How's that?
Interesting. Like, I wish I could hang out there a little while more. This is the awareness, inner awareness. I started to feel it around my back. Interesting.
Yes. T10, right in the mid back.
Yes, very interesting.
Yep, that's where like the root of everything is sort of adhered to the front of the spine. And so if our ribs have been stuck, then we're lifting it up and open. So everything that was hunched up inside there can sort of peel off, like there's a wad of gum behind there, and we can just lift it out.
And as we do this, are we like nothing came up for me? Is that okay? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
feeling, but I didn't have any memories or visions or anything. I guess that will happen from time to time for different people.
well, remember too, though, that your work, the challenge here is this is technical. So you were remaining in that technical space,
Uh,
right? So you were trying to make sure, open the throat, breathe, So you're going through the technicalities. So the more you practice this with movement, that's where, because when you get into, let's say you get into a posture of yoga that's really difficult, like frog, right? Or anything that's really difficult. Child's pose can sometimes feel difficult if you have a tight hip. So you're in a hip liberating posture that maybe doesn't feel that liberating. You go into the hip now from this cord, from this breathing tube, and then you carry that down and you have the breath help you decide whether you're going to hold into that posture and go through some breaths to see what comes, and then have the breath help you go deeper, exhale deeper into it. That's what that ujjayi breathing will help you do, that deep, deep breathing.
and again, this is just bringing in more of the Divine Mother once these channels are clear.
Yes. And
Awesome.
you you can go up. Now we didn't go all the way up, right? So
Okay.
that tongue is pressing on these bones, these cranial bones in the skull that your eyeballs are in. You remember we were talking about the bobblehead. So that cord, that ability to control the tube, now that pierces up through the skull here, and it becomes more like a sail and a hammock. So that cord really is like sail material and then a hammock. So your brain is in this hammock and sail, and your eyes are on either side of that in the front. So they're at that image, that trifecta image, if you want to bring it up. Remember that first one? It's the 1, 2, 3, the next to the foot, the yellow one, the bright yellow one. next one over. Yeah. So
Okay.
that brings you up into there. So when you can get that cord up into there and start to move your eyes, which I'll I will definitely, if we have time, I would like to read something that's a code that it's an imprint that you can repeat, and it sort of sets things in motion. Um,
Sure.
so um sorry, I'm pausing. So when you go up into here, you're moving the tissue of your third eye, your pineal gland and your pituitary glands, your hypothalamus. So I feel when I can get up in there, you saw my self-image, that 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 third eye has been almost stitched closed on one
Mm.
side, or had a bomb go off in there. Yeah, so it's all distorted. So
Mhm.
so you can go up into your skull to feel for any distortions in there, and then look at this sphere and learn how to spin it by turning the tissue up in there. So you'd be using your tongue, your nose, you start to learn how to use your facial muscles, which can bring us into another conversation altogether about the sensory system. So now you're able to access your physical third eye through practicing this breathing and movement and moving the cord, connecting with Divine Mother. So now what you've done, once you can get that throat, we have throat issues, right? So once we get that in twisted entanglement that goes from the heart to the throat to the third eye, now your divine self, which is from your heart, has clear path to your third eye and can project the messages those eyes need to project out.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Okay.
And that's how you can see the other end of the cord. The divine mother, will you see the mother ring with all of the divine mothers? As you go from the heart to the eye and then back out the cord to visit Divine Mother.
Wow. Okay. And it's all through the breath and movement. Breath
Breath
and
is breath
movement.
and movement. That's life, right?
Breath and movement.
Breath and movement are pretty much the same. You can't move without breathing. Our bodies are breathing machines. So, yeah, yep.
Wow.
Sensing and breathing machines, not machines, but you know what I mean. I mean, we can get into even more. We could talk about the integumentary system, but I'd like to just do this one. I have so much more I want to share with you. So there's a phrase that I was given, and I have used it for years, and I haven't shared it with too many people because it's really just feels like a sing-song. But I've been shown that it's a deep code release. It's an activation. And I don't know if you need to know what they do or if I just say it and you practice saying it, and I think it just activates. I think it's an old code, but only you will know when you start to try it, right? So I'd like to read the decree that I have, and just to clarify, a decree is separate from the cries. Decree is separate, to separate from the cries and speak with authority. That's what a decree is. So we're no longer asking, we're not praying. I mean, we pray to ask for assistance from our families and our guides and all of that, but we speak with authority now once we stand in our authority, right? When once we've mastered these fibers, we're standing in our authority. So we make decrees. So it shall be. So it is. Um, so this is a decree called the masterpiece. Let these eyes become endless reservoirs of light that distract them from lies. Let this voice be in company with the song of the seraphim, this body an instrument of God, playing in the symphony, an infinite orchestra, whose masterpiece blankets the earth, drowning out the noise and cacophony of chaos, lifting, liberating all souls out of the graveyard, out of the end of time, released into eternity's garden, where seeds of hope superbloom when our particles arrive. Prepare the particles for arrival. Spin spheres, dial rings, turn cones, pull strings. Open chambers, cleanse the lens, folding over and in again. And so it shall be.
So it shall be. All right. Very powerful. Very powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Carly.
You're welcome.
Wow. So when people want to work with you and enhance this even further and really dive deep into it, we want to share that you have something available for people. This is called the Authenticity Quest, and this is going to help people advance this process. Tell us about this, please.
Well, Authenticity Quest is a course that I designed couple years ago. I've done a few different courses, and this one um, is offered to help understand the governing elemental body and how it's our responsibility to steward it, and how our elemental body interacts with um, the natural elemental kingdom. They're two different things, but they work together. And we have to take ownership or stewardship of our um, contribution to what's going on with this world of elements, right? So this is a session, 4 week course. It dives super deep into how the body um, reflects and shows how these elementals are in our own body and how we're affecting our world, and how to clean them, how to um, use the right language. They're just rich with information. I started watching it again the other day, and I was like, this is a lot of information. So it's the first class that I think really helps explain how to get into that inner self experience. I don't know if I languaged that well enough, but
Fascinating. So we're working with the governing elemental, and this is going to work with four elementals in the body.
yes.
What are those four elementals? I knew that we had a body elemental, was not aware that there are four. Tell us more about that.
Well, it's just like the elementals in the kingdom, right?
Ah,
So we've
the
got
earth,
the earth,
air.
air,
Okay.
fire. Yeah. So your fire is your mind, your spirit, yourself, or your air is your spirit, but your the earth is your physical container. And what do we leave off? Fire, earth, air, water.
Water.
And water and water is our emotional body. So we've got the mind in the fire element. And I go through that in Authenticity Quest, how the salamander is the representative of the fire element in the elemental kingdom. And then in this course, I go through how um, Ixotoxal salamander. I can't ever pronounce it, but it's this purple salamander that they've experimented on. It's the violet flame salamander that keeps growing back its limbs, right? So I use a lot of these references to see, we're part of the elemental kingdom, and here, look, the fire element can grow back limbs, and that's our neurological system happens to be the thing that grows things.
Yes, neuroplasticity. Wow.
So I
Okay.
connect things in a very circuitous kind of way through the body, and how the water, I say that if water is our emotional body, the greatest emotion is love. And if we're somewhere between 60 to 90% water, then we're love, unless we've allowed pollution into our water. But water doesn't get polluted. It just gets things that hang on to it. It's just like our shadow stuff, our emotional stuff. It's not our love self is not polluted. It's just stuff hanging around it.
Mm-hmm.
Water element itself is always pure.
Wow. Okay. So this is all available. And when someone's working with this course, what's involved? How long is it? How often should they tune in and check out some of the courses?
Well, the Authenticity Quest is a it was a 4 week course. Each module runs about an hour, but they're really, really rich with data. And there's a download called, I think I called it the Word Nerd book, because I look at when it comes to our thoughts, the fire element, our ability to control our mind starts with having to control our thoughts. And the way you control your thoughts is you observe your language. And so I call this linguistic ballistics. How are you throwing your words around? And when you think about, we were just doing this breathing exercise, we only speak on an exhale. So, so our language has to be as clear as our breath. So we observe our language through linguistic ballistics, adjust it. And that's what the Word Nerd booklet is for, is to see how etymologically I look at a lot of words. Almost every word I try to really research almost every word I speak to get the etymological history, not the Urban Dictionary version, not the updated version. What's the vibratory message of this actual word? What's the Latin, Greek, or Old English root? What does that really mean when I'm speaking that? And then adjust the language. I call that using the high frequency language, or language of the octaves.
Wow. Okay.
So to
Amazing.
answer your question, it's four 1 hour modules, but there are Q&A sessions. There's the handout. So I think you go back as often as you need. It's a lot of information, and just have it and enjoy it. Like, really have fun with it, and know that I'm not saying this is 100% truth. This is my truth. This is what I have come to understand. Also, that over time, when your perspective changes, the data that you relay changes, that the old data might adjust and change. So to be open to saying, yeah, that doesn't fit for me, or that did fit and it doesn't fit anymore. I mean, it's all good. Just play with the information and feel through it.
So, what transformation can people expect after this? Have you had clients that report back to you what they've experienced?
Um, yeah, yes and no. It's a life changing. What happens is everything changes.
Everything changes because you are
Everything
lit up.
changes.
You're lit up. You're liberated,
Yeah,
free.
everything changes. And I think all of us, everybody watching, I'm sure has been on a path and already knows it doesn't mean it's easy. When everything changes, it's not an easy path. So, um, it requires fortitude and dedication and faith to know that the other side of this, we came here for this. We have, we obligated ourselves to be here and do this. And if you're not dead now, then you got work to do because we are the death of fear. We are the death of fear. We are not the fear of death. We are the death of fear. We are
That's
love.
the transformation, is to put us onto our ascension path fully,
Hmm.
lighting us up from within, seeing ourselves from within, this inner vision, and clearing the distortions
And the narratives,
and the narratives and the
which are the
story.
distortions. Yeah, all of them. Stepping over into that ring, that mother ring, where, mother would come into a room of battling children and say, I don't care. Like, just stop. I love you all. Just stop. Right? So it's forgiveness. It's just like radical forgiveness, radical forgiveness.
Which is radical liberation and radical sovereignty.
Yeah.
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 All right. Wow. Okay. That is available right here on this webpage. I invite everyone to check it out. There is a link in the description box if you're catching us on YouTube, and we invite you to click that link and learn more about this. And I want to say that there's also a decree that you're including as well.
Oh, right. Wait,
Yes, that's
what?
a meditation, a written and audio version of the Elemental Liberation Decree.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. So to answer your question better, um, what they can expect from that decree. It's a long decree because you're doing it with each elemental. You're liberating them in your body and you're giving them permission to do what they came here to do. So it's a letting go of the need to control or the need to have fear control. It's saying, welcome, thank you, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And now I set you free. Do what you came here to do. Think about it like a genie in a bottle. We're letting these elemental electrons, which are our own, came here to do these tasks, and our mental constructs and ancestral debts have gotten in the way because they have to do what we say. So now we say, okay, don't do that anymore. Please forgive me because that had to have been torturous for you to have been doing that, right? Our body is just constantly trying to keep us alive and healthy. So now we're saying, I'm going to join you. I'd like to join you in keeping this body alive and healthy, please.
Yes, yes, I love that. It is partnering with our elementals and of the body and using the Ho'oponopono, using
Yes,
the Ho'oponopono for that
definitely.
forgiveness. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing this, Carly. I know people are going to be excited about it. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about this program and how it truly helps people?
I think it helps people understand the amount of, when I say power, I don't mean it in a negative sense, the amount of empowerment they have, the ability to feel like it's possible for me to feel whole body sovereignty, whole body sovereignty, no more entanglement with this stuff, and stepping into your role, you know?
Whole body sovereignty. Okay. We're
Yeah.
really doing a massive cleanup job on the physical body, which is imprinted with these mm, thoughts,
Shadows.
experiences, trauma, stories.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
But they're negatives, and
Just
we just exhale them. We let them pass through the divine cord, whether that's out our exhale or through our navel. Because remember, the installation cord also took the waste. So you can send it out your belly button.
okay. Great. All right. So this is it. This is our cleanse through the umbilical cord, the belly button, and breath,
Yeah,
connecting us to the Divine Mother.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. You have expanded our consciousness today and opened us up to a fascinating topic. And I know those who are excited are going to sign up and register. And we look forward to that. And you're so supportive with your clients that any questions they have, they can email you and ask you more. And that's so supportive.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Carly.
Thank
Yes.
you, Loren. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
So as we say goodbye, I want to give you a moment for final thoughts.
Hmm. Final thoughts is to remember during these times of chaos, everybody is in pain. And it's not easy to remember that when everything is so chaotic. And when that happens, we have an obligation to connect with the divine, to breathe, and to become a temple of forgiveness. Forgive, forgive, forgive. It's the only way. It's the only way. Forgiveness is love in action. And again, I am not perfect. I still practice this every day.
Those are very powerful, wise words. Forgiveness is love in action, and that's our job now. That's part of the major part of the shift is to shift this within ourselves, to forgive everything and move forward in light, empowered light.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.